Oh, well, first of all, thank you, सेना साहब. आपने कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑलरेडी सेट कर दिया है, तो मुझे दी गोदावरी इनिशिएटिव पे ज़्यादा डिटेल में नहीं बात करनी है. But I think the biggest thing which I want to call out here is that for Diageo, when we were working in a very hyper-local manner around our 4 manufacturing plants in Maharashtra, Aurangabad, Baramati, Nanded and Nasik, from where the Godavari river origins. We were doing projects here and there, but when we zoomed out and thought that where we are, and we were in a river basin called Godavari. So when we thought of, okay, we need to work on this larger water body, and we realized that alone we cannot do it. Alone, not even any company can do it, and maybe even alone government cannot do it. So I think with that basic thought, we approached this whole concept of developing the Godavari initiative, a collective action on water. We were not aware where it will head, but yes, as you said, sir, a passion point that no, we need to work together and somebody needs to take a lead. We started with that journey about 4 to 5 months ago, developing papers, concept note, blah, blah, blah. But we launched it on the same day when we celebrated the anniversary of the Chandrayaan landing on the moon. 23rd of August, we launched it. Thanks, sir, aap wahan pe the. Followed by that, we had a regional consultation at Nasik. And Nasik, we got another level of response because local people who are connected to Godavari, they came forward, and thanks to the TGI team, they brought in local industry associations together. And they were telling us that, by the way, this was our job and you are doing it. So I think that was a very, very important message to me and the team at TGI and the companies who were present, that everybody wants to be part of it. And today, this massive panel is a testimony, and we may not even speak anything today in this panel, but this is the testimony that this is very important. The Godavari initiative is picking up momentum. We definitely want not to have Diageo always. We don't have a logo here, but we definitely want all of us to come forward, co-create this whole initiative. In today's panel, I tried to do some justice to, thanks to Rishi, to kind of put this into the 4 buckets. The first bucket is we'll discuss about approach and strategy for this kind of an initiative. Second bucket is power of partnership. Third bucket is what are the key enabler, including the community participation. And the last bucket is the challenges which we should be prepared for. So these are the 4 buckets on which all of us will take 2 minutes to talk about. I'll start with Vijay. Our most experienced panelist on the topic which we are discussing today, on how to work on a large river body and how to bring the right approach to practice. Vijay.
Thank you. Actually, most experienced is a bit risky thing to carry with, but yes, we do have our own experience on working on river basin level in terms of water security. So there are many things Indian government is doing a lot. It started with Ganga and now to other basins also, and we also learned from agencies like UMI and many agricultural institutions also. So there are some typical things, or I won't say typical, something which goes with all river basins that has been picked up by us is when we look at monsoon, it's water surplus basin, mainly because there's a lot of rainfall. How nature used to work. Earlier panel also there was a thing of NBS, nature-based solutions. So how nature used to work. So when there was forest, rainfall used to be there, and water was all held by the forest and very slowly, gradually released into rivers. After monsoon, which is called as post-monsoon river flows. We learnt all this when we got into river basin. So what is happening? The sponges, the forest, are all have come down in area. There's a lot of concretization or non-absorbing areas increasing. So the water is, first the groundwater depletion is there, because we are also global groundwater champion, India. So 60% of agriculture and 80% of urban water, almost again 50-60% in rural water. All this is coming from groundwater. So groundwater depletes. So there are no post-monsoon flows. Whatever water is coming in rainy season is flowing away. And in climate change, what is happening? We are getting more high intensity rainfall. So conventional above surface means watershed like work alone won't suffice. Means we can't construct so many water bodies to hold water. So water has to be held in the soil as soil moisture, and more importantly as groundwater recharge. This is what we learnt. So what we have done at basin level, we get these verticals by the geohydrologists with their help, fracture zones. So work for recharge structures in those fracture zones, while the conventional watershed will continue, but focus, do this. The second thing is demand. Even Ganga basin today, demand is a big thing, and it is depleting the water flows in the river and also groundwater. So demand is a major thing. To start with, definitely agriculture by not bringing down yields and incomes. That is another thing we do at a scale, like practice it like direct seeding, all that we learned because of this requirement, that demand is there. Third is, with the high density population, the waste and grey water getting mixed into the actual freshwater flows. So localized recycling, like states like Punjab, Haryana, UP and all, the water directly goes into, means high density, it is happening in many other states also, directly goes into the water bodies which were supposed to give even serve drinking water purposes. So that is another thing. So supply augmentation, not the conventional water bodies, having focus more on recharge also. The second thing is demand reduction. The third thing is water reuse and recycling. These three are what we learned from watershed when we moved to river basin level, and that is what we are now. We are at 5 basins. There is one of our partner VVK also with whom we have recently got to South Pennar basin in Karnataka. So but learnings are continuing. It's not that we are experts or something.
Thanks, Vijay. I told you he's the most experienced. Thank you so much for giving us that understanding. So, Richa, your experience on working on Kaveri, if you could help us on understanding what approach really worked over there and what TGI can learn from that.
Thank you, Hisham, for that question. I know I'm not talking about Godavari, but I'm going to draw some parallels on the kind of work we did with River Kaveri here. And thanks for having me on this panel. So we worked in my past capacities on River Kaveri, which we very well know is flowing in the 4 states of India and is the most disputed river and also the most polluted river as of date. What we started with is a problem statement here. So in my past capacity, the company where I was working has very high resonance.
Closer?
Okay. Sure. Yeah, thank you. I hope it's okay now, yeah. Has a lot of resonance with the field of biodiversity. And I'm talking about a very elusive fish species here, which is called the humpback mahasir. And this species is the 20 most mega fishes in the world, which was getting extinct just because it was not even listed in the IUCN Red List. And that was the starting point with our company's residence, with our affinity with the fish species. We started with this, finding this where the species lies. And what we found out is the humpback mahasir is an indicator species of River Kaveri. And it cannot breed anywhere else. Only in Kaveri this is found, very less numbers. And it's an indicator species. So it is endemic, highly endemic, and just not found anywhere in India, anywhere in the world. So with that hook, we started working. And we found that the natural habitat of this fish is completely depleting because of sand mining, a lot of hydel projects were coming across, a lot of fishing opportunities were coming. So we started with a collective action approach here after knowing the pollution loads and the kind of, I would say, stakeholders that we can catch hold of in this journey. We started with the angling community first because this is a very sport fish and anglers find a lot of pride in getting a fish of this stature and they might not throw it back or they just take it for food purposes and all. So we touched base with the angling community across the river basin. We touched base with the tribals across the river basin, the larger community people. Of course, the state governments were involved because they were doing a lot of work on conserving the Kaveri itself, the ecosystem itself. And lastly, we touched base with the 800 schools around the river basin because we thought if we train and educate the children how a river works, how does the ecosystem of the river operates, then they may also inculcate that knowledge in the larger ecosystem. So this is how we started, and right now as we speak, we started quite many years back. Right now, humpback mahasee now has a scientific name and now is listed as a threatened species in the IUCN Red List. So that's the kind of impact I thought I'll draw a parallel reference and bring it to your focus.
Yeah, thank you, Richa. I think it's very important. There are so many nuances to a river body, which probably is going to be a huge task for TGI. How do we stitch that whole story together? And I'll move to Rishi. Rishi, water as a resource, and both of us, we know it's a precious resource for our business to thrive. So what is the boardroom attention to such a resource like water?
Thank you, Navdeep, and thank you, the organizers and Navdeep, for bringing me here to this very important panel on water. And like Navdeep has already mentioned, we are also, like Diageo, in the business of happiness and celebration. So we are the one of the largest breweries or beer making company in the Europe. And we have I represent Carlsberg. So more than the other companies, I'll take reference from the Carlsberg board that we have the discussions on. So we are a company with a Danish heritage of almost 177 years. And we are owned by a non-profit foundation wherein almost 30% of our dividends goes into the upliftment of the communities or the natural resources, arts and science. So our founders, in fact, they thought, and without beer, without water, you cannot imagine having beer. So it's the most important ingredient of our business. It's the heart and soul of our business. So our founders, they recognized this way back, almost a century ago, and they started off the ESG, the environment and social governance projects at that time itself, rather than waiting for any mandate on the CSR activities. So on the water, we work on how do we become water efficient, how do we save water in our operations, and the other part is how do we replenish. It's very important for us to replenish the water also that we use from the communities, because we are a business which takes resources or which contributes also to the local economy. So all our beers are made in India. We've got 8 factories. So on the becoming water efficient, I am happy to say that almost till 6-7 years back, and I'm taking this example from India, so our breweries were using 3.5 liters of water to make 1 liter of beer. But in the last 5 years, by the use of technologies, we've reduced this to almost 2.5 liters of water being used for making 1 liter of beer. And we have under our ESG program that's called Together Towards Zero and Beyond, we want to reduce this to further using only 1.7 liters of water to make 1 liter of beer. That's on the water saving part. In fact, like Hena was mentioning yesterday, that all the water that is used for washing the bottles in Diageo is used almost 9 times. I would take another example. In our breweries, almost 90% of the steam that is produced in the industrial production process, that is condensated and used, converted into water and then used again and again. This is on the water saving part. On the replenishment part, we are Diageo, we also saw that yes, our factories are there in Aurangabad, our factories are there in Telangana. So the Godavari becomes a very important kind of a river basin for us. And so it was very important to support Godavari initiative. And we are doing certain other projects also in other states, but then I'll be happy to partner this and take it forward.
Thanks, Rishi. This liter per liter efficiency is a huge journey for many companies, and we are also on top of that. Coming to you, Pratima, moving to our next bucket is on collective action and power of partnerships. I think we'll like to listen about what's your experience on the journey on millets.
Thank you, Navdeep. Yes, I'm one of the odd persons out on this panel. Lenovo is a signatory to the UN CEO mandate on water. However, my experience about working on collective action is related to a program that is known as Work for Humankind, which we started in Kanthalur, Idukki in Kerala. And I think in the previous panel, one of the questions that was asked about is how far do you take technology in landscapes? And I don't remember the moderator's name, but I think his name is Mr. Mehra, and he said that look at technology as an enabler. And that's exactly what Lenovo did. We work in the space of education, and here we were thinking of looking at how to revitalize millets in a place like Kanthalur, where 20 years ago they were growing 18 varieties of millets, but they had forgotten the indigenous ways of really looking at farming and agriculture, and therefore were only growing ragi. So how does technology come into this? Technology comes into this using our education portfolio. We looked at the needs assessment and said, we can't go and teach the farmers technology to go and grow millets. But why not look at the students in the area? And therefore, our tie-up was with IHRD College of Applied Science. You had students there who were learning computer science either through a bachelor's or a master's, but they didn't have a project-based learning. So we set up a digital center in the college, and they started working with the farmers. Result, after 1.5 years, today Kanthalur is growing 6 varieties of millets. They have created market linkages through self-help groups with women. They have a brand called Kanthalur Millets, which they are looking at marketing through the ONDC platforms. So the digital center was not the only thing that we created. We actually sat with them and worked on their needs assessment and built all of this together. Did we do that alone? No. We had the Gram Panchayat with us. We had the Homestay Owners Association with us. We had the self-help group with us. We had the agricultural department with us, who all worked together to bring this. So, right enough, while the organization like Lenovo came in with the technology, we had the other important stakeholders who came in and participated. Did we actually achieve everything we wanted? Not really. They still have a challenge around human and animal conflict. Is that something that technology would be able to support? Maybe. But we didn't have the capacity to do it at that time. What we have right now is a model that can be taken across to other states, and that's the reason why why Lenovo is part of this coalition, because there is a model that is available that can bring stakeholders together to build a collective action. It's about knowledge transfer. It's about saying there's a possibility that this model can be scaled up and brought to the table. Thank you.
Thanks, Pratima. So, while we look at a river basin, I think all different aspects, the blue life of the river basin, the agriculture part of it, and extending the same conversation to Rishi. Another UPL being the signatory to CEO mandate, working in the agriculture space. What would you like us to take guidance from you?
Thanks, Navdeep. I'll start with a bit of a understanding that I have for working on any river basin, I think. When you work on river basin, whether you start with a small, very small river, or you go to the biggest river, I think fundamentally concept remains same. That is around identifying the source of pollution and how do you really remove that. I think to my understanding that becomes the first when you work on river rejuvenation. I think the second one is around silt. We have spoken a lot about this, and that's where the community participation comes in. And that's where the farmer's role comes in, to answer specifically to your question, Avdeep. But we also have to look at restoring the natural ecosystem, whether it's you planting trees around that or any other way. Add to this, when you have a religious river, whether it's Ganga or Godavari, you have a religious dimension also that comes in. So your challenge becomes one level up. How do you handle that? I think to my understanding, there's two ways. One is to find convergence because you've got so many states, district, communities involved in this. And the second one is ensuring community participation in every stage. And when I say community participation, I'll talk only about farmers at this point of time. And I'll quote two examples where I've been working, or maybe one that I've observed very closely, and that one that we supported the Papnashi River in Marathwada area. This was by Mr. Mayank Gandhi, and the whole river was rejuvenated, 74 acre, with farmers' participation, constructing more than 70 odd check dams and all the kind of shafts that were there. The main aspect was involvement of farmers at every point of time, because they, whether you recognize this or not, they become the biggest stakeholder when you do a river rejuvenation. That's one I would like to definitely talk about here. The second one, yesterday was Sharad Purnima, and if you'll just walk towards UP, there's a place called Narora. I don't know how many of you know about this place. That's a place where religious dip takes place in every Sharad Purnima. And when you walk from Narora to Anupshahr, there's a place called Gawa. It's in Badaयूं district. So that's a place where Hari Baba, with a community participation, has built up maybe the biggest dam with farmers volunteering as kar sevak or whatever you want to say. Again, you have to really bring in the economic aspect of farmer, how they are getting benefit from the silt as well as water that you conserve in a longer run. If you can pitch in this two part, then only it will become sustainable, then only you will be able to do that. So that's my submission to this discussion, that we can't ignore farmer when you talk about river rejuvenation, whether it's a small river of 5 kilometers or a big river like Godavari. They are the most important stakeholder. You have to build in the economic aspect. How do you really bring in their economic understanding, benefit, so that they really get benefited? So that's my submission of for this discussion.
Thank you so much, Rishi. Yes, I think in India, roughly the stats says that about 90% of the water consumption is in agriculture. And the rest is divided between domestic consumption and the industrial consumption. But 90% is consumed by agriculture, and you are absolutely right. We can't do it without the farmers community coming forward and partnering on whether it is sugarcane farmers, moving away from flooding to drip. Sir was suggesting that suggestion, and even AWD techniques, etc. So while we are discussing that, I'll go to Rakesh. Rakesh, lighting. I mean, what is lighting to do with the river body rejuvenation? Can you throw some light on that, if I can?
Thanks, Navdeep, bringing me here. And Pratima, you are not the odd one. I am also the odd one here. But just to tell you, so I don't know how many of you read this, the Godavari initiative, but there is 5 pillars, and one pillar is Jan Godavari. So I was going through this Godavari river. It was new for me also. Two interesting things which I found. The first, the length of the river is 1500 kilometer. Such a huge. Another good fact finding which I found, there are 5 national parks and 15 wildlife sanctuaries are there throughout this journey, which is two things which actually fascinated me to bring our perspective on the lighting, how we can do it. So, though we don't directly work on the water, like Diageo and Carlworks are there and UPL, but we manufacture light and we are the world largest lighting company, earlier known as Philips Lighting. It's now Signify Innovation. So when I was talking with the team about this initiative, there are 2 things which I brought. One is how we can use lighting to bring Jan, means the community together. Okay. And another thing which we thought and which we discussed, how the lighting can play a role in creating livelihood through tourism. So 2 things. The first, when we talk about the wildlife sanctuaries and the national parks, a lot of communities are living inside this forest, and the safety, human-wildlife conflict, these cases are actually happening everywhere, not only in Bahraich. It is happening everywhere, but we are not getting the news. So might be people think the cases are in UP and other part of India. It's not happening. Yeah. So how we can bring the power of light to enhance the safety of women, how we can use the power of lighting to reduce the human-wildlife conflict cases, how we can use the lighting to enhance the productive timeline in the community in and around the Godavari initiative, the thought which we brought. Second thing, how lighting can play an important role in enhancing the tourism. If tourism will enhance definitely, and automatically the local community will get some sort of a livelihood opportunity. Just giving an example, like 1500 kilometer or the length of the river, I'm not sure how many ghats are there. Okay, let's suppose just take an example like 15 and 20 ghats are there. If we can illuminate and we can make such places beautiful illuminated places where people can come and spend time together, definitely the community will get benefit out of it. They can set up on a small shops. If some handicraft work are there happening, they can bring. And another perspective, the lot of people who are living in the city, they don't know how the rivers look like. Okay. So there is a VR setup, so you can see actually to see how the Godavari look like. Such a beautiful river. I can't tell you. I worked in many places. I worked in the Ganga rivers also and Brahmaputra in my previous organization. But Godavari is equally beautiful river. There is a possibility of enhancing the homestay. So in and around, and if we can make such places beautiful and using the technology of light, which that's the reason I think they have brought me to bring a different perspective. And this platform is not only about the water, but bringing a different perspective together, and how this perspective will help to revive and make, not revive because Godavari don't need a revival, it's a beautiful river, already revived, how we can make it more accessible to the larger part of the world. So that's the summation from my end, keeping time frame in mind.
Thank you. And yesterday, the CEO said that after Sun, they are the second company who's lighting the world. So absolutely, we need them to light the Godavari and help us revive evening life, make it safer, make it accessible, add some elements which are missing, add some more conversation points, more convergence points. So thank you so much for bringing that aspect. I'll move to Siddharth. Community involvement. I mean, how do you bring that to life for such a project? What's your take on that?
Yeah, hi. First of all, thanks for inviting me. I'll just build on some of the points that have already been raised, especially by Rishi regarding farmers, etc. So, we are now talking about the Godavari, but any initiative that we do, whatever is the focus area, most important aspect is the community. Without their buy-in, you will not have a successful program. They have to own the program, and they have to understand what is the relevance of a particular initiative towards his or her life. In the end, we are all selfish people. We try to see what is the benefit for us, our family, and how is this initiative going to help us. So keeping that in mind is very important. There are a lot of technical things. We just spoke about the length of the river, right? So that's a huge population we are talking about, and a very diverse population. Each area will have its own relevance, regarding the river. Farmers have a certain way of looking at Godavari. You will have the children looking at it at a certain way. The women will have a totally different perspective on what is it. Then you have your cultural pillars, of course, your religious pillars. So breaking it down at every aspect, from the village level to the block to the district, then to the collective action, involving the community, understanding their perspective towards the initiative, what is it that they want, then matching it with what is it that the initiative wants to achieve. Finding the common ground and then going towards river rejuvenation, but making the community feel that it is their project and they are the decision makers. So need assessment, project design, involving them during the implementation will eventually lead to impact and sustainability of the initiative. So that's the most fundamental thing for me.
Thanks. It is a very, very complex kind of a stakeholder matrix, but we have to do it. So we've begun well and probably will do well in future also on the same journey. Moving to you, Seema, I'm asking you to warn us that there may be a lot of challenges which we need to deal with, which collectively we will. But if you could list down few of them and scare us.
The first challenge that you've already worked on is really beautifully like bringing Crompton on this panel. After lighting, I think we are the largest fan sellers in India. So we were wondering why the fan making company, one of the electrical companies, should invest into this. However, of course, the first starting point was because of our presence in Ahmednagar, which is within the catchment area. However, there would be challenge that you may face in terms of, let's say a company like Crompton, A, why we should invest into it. B, as a part of a CSR, we do water conservation where there is a lot of, pani bachao, check dam banao, pani aurao, and all the river initiative that you're talking about, it's more of, let the water flow. So just see where you see the conflict, where the other, let's say companies or government, anybody is talking about, let's stop the water at its source and conserve and increase the groundwater. But here, with your intervention, you need to see how the water is flowing throughout for the river. I think that's the most important, the health aspect of the river catchment area is concerned. That is one. So second is mindset. So first, of course, changing the mindsets of the corporates, that why they should come in. Second, if my data is right, the usage, the catchment, is it only 20% is a corporate for the manufacturing companies, and the most of the 80% is for the domestic usage. That too, spiritual, the social angle, the devotees are concerned. So that's a very, 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 very sensitive and critical area. So we may face some resistance from there. So I don't need to tell you how to deal with that, but you need to deal with that. So yeah, these are the few key things that I would like you to warn against. And of course, the ever-changing climate, because every day there's a new challenge. The climate is, throwing at us. So if you plan for the 5 years, this is how the things will work. Maybe the next 3 months you'll see the monsoon. So be ready for that as well.
Well, that's quite a fresh air. Thanks for giving us these two perspectives. So we move on to the next section with all of you and one of or some of you. What we are trying to build together is that we are trying to co-create a TGI charter, the Godavari Initiative Charter, that will set the vision, mission, objectives, what kind of resourcing required, what kind of things to watch for, how do you include stakeholders. All of that would be part of that charter, which we will co-create by bringing all of you together, and not only this panel, the other stakeholders, the government, the NGO, the farmer community, etc. But I would like to pick up your mind on the key elements which you personally think that should be part of that charter, and we can actually start in any order. If somebody's already thought about it, we can start talking about it. Maybe starting with Vijay only.
Yeah, we were also part of that initial discussions in CEO water mandate. One thing I realized, because of being corporates dominated forum, so it got into actions very quickly, and also corporates also want to actually come on board, like saying, I want to do this, this will be my piece of contribution in this whole thing. Only taking a step back, I was telling the IIT.org, who helps technically also CEO water mandate, that let there be, at least we won't wait for that, but we should also have basin plan. What are the concerns in these particular basins? What should be the work done? And then what happens, the master plan, when it is sitting there, that can be actually distributed and everyone will take their own thing. Otherwise, I slightly think like what we are already doing, we all get into like ITC is doing so much of work in Lower Godavari, in Rajahmundry area, in Bhadrachalam area, and in Amravati, Varda and all, where the Varda river flows into Godavari, Penganga, Varda and all. We are working on agriculture front. I can definitely say all this is for Godavari, which is a fact. But the point is, let there be a master plan. Against master plan, all this can be plotted, so that we are clear on end objective. This is one thing I will suggest.
So, Navdeep, from my side, I think two things that needs to be focused whenever you talk about. One is definitely focusing on the cake, not the icing part. So how you make your VMV or charter depends totally on what is your focus area. And for that, as I said, and I think very well supported also, that community has to be the center around that planning part. That's definitely the first part. The second part is a mistake that I did initially in my career when I was working in water conservation was to look things from my own silo perspective. For a watershed of a village was important for me. I never realized there's a watershed has to be at a macro level. Then it's a very small part of what I'm doing of a larger thing. So a charter should focus on two things. That's my understanding. One is to have that macro perspective. We may not be able to achieve that in 5 year, 10 year, but we need to have that perspective. This is what it is. We may do 1%, 2%, 5%. Second, never ever forget about the main cake. Icing can happen. You can do that whenever you want, but main cake has to remain, whether it's your water, whether it's your farmer, whether it's your siltation. What is it that you want to do in this particular initiative? That focus needs to remain there.
Thank you very much. I think a true CSR professional accepting a mistake and then moving on and giving us a beautiful gyan, which is absolutely relevant for that cake. We will take that, and Mansi and others hope this is important. Focus on the cake. So absolutely. Moving this side, maybe Seema, if you have any suggestion for the charter.
No, just see how best it is more inclusive for all, and not just within the catchment area, but outside the catchment area, because that they are the main stakeholder. We're going to factor your entire initiative. So just see corporates, farmers, all of them. How say it is more inclusive. That's it.
Absolutely. Rishi, you want to add something to the charter?
Nothing, I'm just learning.
Okay, Pratima, you?
Navdeep, I like to have the last word always, okay? So this is an appeal to everybody in this room. The previous panel, you had this room packed full. For those who are in this room right now, please go visit the TGI gallery. When you visit that gallery, you will realize the blue sky thinking and what is going into that. It'll make you realize that all of us in this room need to own this charter and come in some way. Advocacy is required, education is required. Please do take some time and visit the TGI gallery. It's an eye-opener. You will see the various elements, not just in terms of the corporate's CSR piece, but also in terms of the livelihoods that would get affected, that can get scaled, that can get leveraged. I was quite surprised to see that there's a Paithani sari there for all the ladies who are in this room, okay? Diwali is round the corner and you must be thinking about fashion. The Paithani saris come from the place where the Godavari river is flowing. The millets, the rice, the pulses that you're eating, they're all coming from that basin. So that would be my submission to the charter as well. Advocate, educate.
Thank you, Rishi. You want to add something?
Yeah, just a thought came in my mind. Maybe the other kind of sustainability initiatives that are going around on the regenerative farming or on agriculture or on other things, we can also map those things and combine in the charter somewhere, because then this become a totally collective kind of a thing.
Yeah, great, absolutely. You want to add something, Richa?
I think most of the things are said, but the last and most important thing I want to emphasize is we must also align with the climate action plan. So India has a national climate action plan, so alignment to that. Even the states where Godavari is flowing, every state has a state climate action plan. So a linkage to that is extremely important here because government itself is a very important stakeholder in this collective action. And of course, everything that collaborates and contributes to the achievement of the sustainable development goals around water. So that was my submission here.
Okay. Thank you. Siddharth, you have any?
I think most points are covered, but again, I like to put out when many people come together, there's always conflict at multiple levels. So the charter should have a mechanism for grievance redressal, etc. from, right, again, as I said, from village till collective action level.
Rakesh?
So, Nudhi, I'm fine with the points which the team has mentioned. Just one suggestion, like we have, though the discussion and the time already you guys took to frame this, and already, hope it's clear.
Yeah.
And the things, you guys have worked beautifully on designing the part. My suggestion is here, at least now we have to start doing. And don't wait to make some big change. If you can start within a small activity or small program, whatever is coming, start doing it. Because once there will be an action on the ground, that it will definitely motivate other people to join in hand. So my submission is let's start whatever we have in hand and show the world how we are doing it.
Yeah, thanks. I think with that last note, I think one suggestion from the panel comes that we should have a partnership with the government. We have Senaji sitting here. We already started working on it. On the Maharashtra climate cell was also part of the inauguration on 23rd of August. So, but I think the pedal has to be pushed now, and we are absolutely committed. And thank you, all of you, to come forward. And I think, interestingly, the odd ones out are going to make this whole initiative very, very beautiful. The ones who have a skin in the game, who needs water in their bottles or in their products, definitely will do what we want to do. But those who want to bring fresh air and fresh light is absolutely more welcome, and the technology part of it. So thank you very much, all the panelists. We will not take questions. Anybody has a question, they can, mera collar pakad lena. But team is here. But I think in the interest of time, and we are sitting between all of you and the lunch. So thank you very much, all the panelists.